Hello and welcome to Hey Clarity. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today we are opening the Akashic Records on Xenophobia. It is X week of the alphabet superset. More information about that will be in the description box below. And there were really no other words for X that I could think of, no other topics, except for xenophobia, and how appropriate. So the questions that we're going to ask are, what is xenophobia? To get the foundational question answered from the Akashic Records perspective. How did it begin? What are its origins? What's at the root of xenophobia? How does it impact us individually and collectively? How can we evolve from it step by step to get the practical things we can do? And then what's the most important message we need to know about xenophobia? So let's get into it. First question, what is xenophobia? They're saying it's a blocked foundation. At the human being level, they're saying human being foundation. They're saying cultural, blocked. They're like X, something is considered wrong, too different. They're saying it's something obvious and it's dislike. Disliking something so it's wrong. Uncomfortable so it's wrong. Fearful so it's wrong. Unknown, mysterious, unfamiliar. And they're kind of showing like an animal in the wild, and their fur gets puffed up, right? So that's fear. They're saying fear aggression. It's fear aggression. Blocked foundation, they're saying, of human beings. It's fear aggression. And they're showing let's say there's animals in the woods. They're showing a raccoon and a badger or something. they're kind of similar in some size and some features, but they look different. And so they're in the woods and they spot each other, and they just they're whoa, there's another being here, looks a little different, I don't know what it is, puffed up. So they're saying there's an animal instinct in here. There's a natural instinct in here. It's a human instinct. But they're saying that to be more evolved than that, but to recognize that there's a natural instinct, a fear instinct that kicks in when we recognize that something is new, unfamiliar. They're saying objectives, objects. They're just different objective, different ways of being. And again, unfamiliar, unknown, mysterious. So when that happens and we're uncomfortable, the fear instincts kick in. So that's what it is. They're letting us recognize that the uncomfortability of our differences, the unknown, before it becomes familiar and known, can trigger our fear instincts. And they're saying that is real. But to be more evolved, they're saying as human beings, it needs to be considered that otherness is just different from yours. We'll get deeper into that, but they're just saying others other, and being different, and our differences, these unknown mysteries, are catalysts for evolving. They're catalysts for evolution, for evolving, and not necessarily danger. They're saying not necessarily, but there's a teetering. There's things need to be kind of considered, and they're kind of touch on either side. You have to feel each other out and get to know the situation to make that decision. So there is discernment involved, and they're saying exclusion, exclusion, inclusion, exclusion, inclusion. They're saying that there's layers to this. Okay. How did xenophobia begin? They're saying it's human nature. Like, it's human nature, the fear instincts and differences, like witnessing, seeing differences, natural instincts. They're showing like caveman days, like when a human being in caveman days was like, they're kind of saying like ventured into like territory, like they ventured far, showing someone in the woods or something, and they see another human being, but this other human being doesn't share the same features. Like skin tone might be part of it, but there's like different features. But they're also saying it's like in like the human race, there's so many features, and then there's like the homogeneousness of like, they're saying like the breeds of races, like the breeds of us, that like we develop features based on our environment. Like we've adapted and evolved based on our environments. And so we look different because like the evolution of our body systems and those features, those characteristics are kind of like, they're showing like grouped in like the environments of like where we were evolving. And so they're showing like one human being, caveman style person, and another one seeing each other, and like they're like, you have like kind of like, it's like a zoom out, zoom in. It's like we have the same head, legs, arms, like you see like the general features, but then the details are different, and like start focusing on the details. So they're facing each other like, is this a mirror? This isn't a mirror. And they're kind of like, you know, inspecting each other. And it's like, you're the same, but you're different. And so there's a curiosity, they're saying, that would be more helpful than just the automatic fear instincts response that kicks in. They're saying like, that's caveman. That's our caveman kind of brain, fear instincts kicking in, animal instincts kicking in at first. But then to be more evolved, it's like, what are the differences? And like the wanting to like learn and grow. And they're like, you can take things, you can take ideas, and they're saying like information and notions, like cultural things, you can take them and like kind of keep what's like relevant, and like leave the rest alone. Like just leave the rest alone, because it's like those features, those characteristics, like assisted in the adaptation for the environment for that person, you know, for one person. And like someone else might have the adaptations and the evolution and like the features, the survival, they're saying, for like another thing. So they're saying there's a lot of like environmental background that's involved in like our features and characteristics. And they're saying like breed, like through the breeds of our races. So it's like there's environmental aspects to why we have the features that we do. And they're kind of like, and that's it, you know? And it's like all the other things, like the values, the belief systems, the politics, the religious stuff, they're saying that's all like mind thinking. Like that's all like man-made mind thinking. And they're kind of saying like, that's not actually relevant, like to the human species, or like relevant to like the ecosystem of living on Earth and like surviving on Earth and thriving on Earth. Like there's like a level of thinking they're kind of saying that's completely unnecessary, and it's like useless and like not helpful in the, you know, survival of the whole species of the human being on planet Earth. So yeah, how did it begin? It was just the fear instincts when they're showing like these two caveman people bumping into each other out in the woods. And it's kind of like there was a curiosity. It's like two of them, and like one was like curious, and the other one was like decided in the thinking mind that this is not a good thing, and like went and ran and told the village like there's danger. And it's like the other one was actually like, oh, like this is kind of cool. Like I'm kind of curious about like who you are. So there's a difference in these belief systems. It's like one is curious and is like, huh, and kind of like looking to learn, looking to grow. And then the other one is like, gets caught up in the trigger, the fear instincts, the animal instincts. And they're saying again, like it's natural. And then that one runs back to the village and is like scary, like let's get rid of them. Like there's something else here, but it doesn't feel good. Like it doesn't feel right. There's something really like off in like, I'm feeling in like my heart. And they're saying, oh, heart-centered. Like I feel like my heart and my like solar plexus, like it's like something is like hurting here for the one that goes back to like the village and is like other bad. We have to like get rid of it, like murder, kill. They're saying it's like not heart-centered. And so it's like, this is the human being part that's missing. Like it's the missing parts of being a human. And like they're saying, it's interesting because there's something about like some races are more in touch with being human, like human beingness, humanity, being heart-centered, knowing that like at the core of human beings is love. Some species, some races understand that core value. And some of them are very far removed from their human beingness. They're saying, here to evolve. We're here to evolve, evolving. So they're like, if you want to talk about races and different races, then forget the features and the characteristics. Go with how it feels to be around certain human beings. Who feels heart-centered and who's caught in these fear instincts, the fear beings. There's like fear beings and then there's heart-centered human beings. So they're like, if you want to talk about differences, then let that be the guiding light and not the features. How does it feel to be around this person? How does it feel here? Is it warm and heart-centered, or is it fear-based and like threatened by you? Or threatening you? They're saying like, come inside. Like it's more about like how it feels. So what's at the root of xenophobia? They're saying fear-based belief systems. It's fear-based. The root of xenophobia is fear-based and not heart-centered. And not aware of like the importance of evolving as human species, as human beings. Like we're supposed to evolve. They're like blending, merging, growing, learning, changing. Like there's so much like, it's so dynamic and multifaceted to evolve. And there's like, they're saying there's like a point of tradition and a point of like comfortability in like same, that people like, they like to have things like organized in categories. And there's something like, they're saying like, not at this time, like not at this time, not at this time in human evolution. I'm getting that there's this blending that is happening and needs to happen and wants to happen. And so many of us want this like flow, this fluidity. There's so much like ease and movement if we just allow ourselves to grow and change and merge. And they're kind of like, and love each other as human beings, because that's who we are and that's who we're meant to be. And that civilization, society, they're saying like, historically, like we've kind of like, they're saying like we're like bleeding dry this like purpose of humanity, which is even to like, they're even saying like, we even like blend with the earth. Like we're a part of it. Like we're just this moving force together with the land, with the creatures, with the ecosystem. And yet it's like there's two tracks. There are the human beings who are warm and heart-centered and blending with the ecosystem and evolving. And it's like, and they're saying kind of like melting with the earth, like in this beautiful flow. They're saying it's rhythmic, these rhythmic energies, these rhythmic wavelengths. And then there's this like upper, very like rigid, tight above it, and I'm getting like above it, like maybe thinking this is better. A very tight like metal wire. So there's another like type of human being. They're saying, let's go into this species. There's this other race of human being that is so tight in this metal wire, very linear, very rigid. And they're almost like it could be electrified, like the fear, like this metal wire could be like electrocuting. It's fear, it's anxiety, it's very tense, it's very tight. And it's kind of like these are the two races on the planet right now. It's not the features. It's how you're living your life. It's your lifestyle. So they're like, would you rather be this like really tight wire, wired, angry, like shockwaves, tense, metal, cold-hearted? Or do you want to be, they're like part of the ecosystem. Do you want to be like moving and flowing with more like, they're saying like grace and ease and humanity, like love? How does xenophobia impact us individually? They're saying you are wrong. Like your whole being is wrong. It impacts us individually because someone comes at you and tells you that your existence, your entire existence is of wrongdoing. And they're saying the ultimate truth on that is that that is completely fucking wrong. They're saying there is nothing wrong with who you are. There is nothing wrong with where you come from. There is nothing wrong with who you've been. There's nothing wrong with who you are becoming. There's nothing wrong with who you want to be. You are meant to evolve. You are a part of evolution. And everything that's happening in your individual life, like you're a part of this ecosystem, this system. You're part of this flow of evolution of the human species. There's nothing wrong with you. They're saying ever. They're saying except for that tight rigidity. And they're not saying it's not wrong. It's just the energy of it. And they're saying, would you rather be? Where would you rather be in? So it impacts us individually when someone basically tells you that your entire existence, the existence of everywhere you come from and every person before you, saying that that's wrong. You are wrong. Your existence is wrong. And they're saying that is completely fucking wrong. That is wrong. You are right. And so this, like the belief systems that so many of us carry where we think we don't have the right to even exist in the world. They're saying especially for those who feel like their existence doesn't belong in this world. They're kind of saying, crack that belief system, break that, shatter that glass, break those walls. Like, do not accept that. Do not accept that projection. Do not accept those conversations, reject those connections. Like anyone that's telling you, anyone that makes you feel, anyone that triggers, anyone's projections that trigger you to feel that your existence is wrong, just break away from it. Just totally just dismiss it from your existence. They're saying full dismissal. Do not accept that into your reality ever. And if you've been living in that reality, believing that, then they're saying from this point on, break that, break that, break that. They're saying there are two races on this planet from what they can see from above, the Akashic Records, and the races are warm heart-centered, cold, rigid, metal, core, like tight, tension, fear-based, electric. Those are the two races that are there. That's it. Anything else, all these other nuances and levels and characteristics of who we are, they're saying they're irrelevant. How does xenophobia impact us collectively? They're saying wars and violence over this. Wars and violence over this. Mind, they're saying thinking, belief systems. Terror, terrorized, being terrorized for existing. They're saying on either side, being terrorized for existing. They're like the oppressed and the oppressor. It's kind of like no matter what side you're on, the oppressed or the oppressor, There's something about like violence, inconsiderate of others, a people, a person. The cycles of war, and even the choice to go to war, the choice to inflict violence on a person or people of any kind on either side, is that fear-based, fear instincts, tight tension thing. They're saying there's so many factors that trigger violence and war, but they're saying on this topic of xenophobia, the roots of those actions are completely irrelevant and unnecessary. Okay, anything else? How does xenophobia impact us collectively? They're just saying there's like rage inside of us. There's a lot of rage inside of us and like blaming other people. They're saying downtrodden, like for being downtrodden. They're saying there's so many factors for human suffering, for why we struggle, for why we experience challenges in life. And they're like, because of society, because of people, because of hierarchy, because of all this stuff, we can feel really locked into our place, in our places. We can feel really locked in our places. And they're saying like the reason that becomes true is because of the people. It's not because it's true as an ultimate truth. It's because of people. They're like, you know, government systems and like the power struggles, again, oppression, suppressing, repressing. But they're saying that there's creative problem solving, there's creative ways as evolved human beings to figure out how to get out of these downtrodden struggles, this human suffering. And they're also showing there's like, you know, figuring out how to make the situation better, make your life better, make your existence better. And then there are also the helping hands reaching to help those who are struggling. Like this is like, it's like there's so much help. And they're saying those are the warm-centered, that's the warm-centered race. That's the warm-centered species. The ones who are like, okay, like I'm gonna use my human beingness to be creative, a creative problem solver, and try and figure this out for myself, for my family, for my community. There's that. Despite that cold, rigid, metal other race, fear instincts-based part of humanity. And then there are those who, I'm getting like, you know, the phone rings, they hear the call, they hear a call, it like gets right to the heart. They feel a calling and a purpose to answer the call, where there's like elsewhere on another person, another family, another neighborhood, another state, another country, another continent. If you feel that call to pull and help your other warm-centered species, the other warm-centered race that you share, right? They're like, go do that. So collectively. And it's kind of like, it's interesting that it's like, it's grounded. Like it's interesting that like this wire race, wire species, the fear instincts, fear-based is like above, it's very tight. And then the warm-centered race species of humanity is like everywhere. Birds singing, we're everywhere. But we seem so magnetized and fixated on the other species. We think that that's more than the rest of us, they're saying. And they're saying that is not true. There are more warm, heart-centered human beings. There's a bigger, larger, warm, heart-centered race of humanity versus this tight fear-based one. But the tight fear-based one can be really like magnetizing. Like we like fixate on it and we think that that tiny little portion of the human species of race is it. And they're saying, no, there's actually more warm, heart-centered. How can we evolve from it step by step? How can we evolve from xenophobia step by step? They're showing someone flipping a table and overturning these unnecessary, irrelevant human behavior patterns, and just deciding that like this is not how you're gonna act. Like you're not gonna act in this manner. You're not gonna let the animal instincts, the fear instincts win. You're gonna take a beat and use discernment. And they're saying, and discernment and like proper judgment, like time telling. You're going to take your time. You're going to take your space. Like they're showing, you know, those two different cavemen approaching each other. And they're saying like, which one are you? And like they're saying it's fine to like disengage or not engage at all, right? To like take the space. Like if something really doesn't feel right, but it's kind of like you can take space, you can leave each other alone, like leave it alone. You don't have to like go and tell everybody someone's dangerous if you don't know the full story yet. You don't know. And they're saying like more often than not, there are more similarities than differences, but we never get to the point of getting to know each other enough, getting to explore the unknown and the mysteries of something new, others, to get to that point where we could potentially learn and grow. And they're saying, and merge and evolve. We let that animal instinct, that fear-based reaction kick in and kind of like take over our minds and our thinking and our decision making. And then we go and, you know, tell our community, rally up the troops and get people in defensive mode, when they're saying there might not be an offensive. So they're saying something about like, it's like, they're saying like not legitimate. There's no, what's not legitimate? They're saying like racial tension. Okay, racial tension based on like features and characteristics and all that. Like that's completely bogus. That's completely useless and superficial. And when we think about racism, when we think about xenophobia and like hating other, we associate it with the features and the characteristics. And they're saying that's completely irrelevant and bogus and doesn't make any sense. But the deeper understanding of it is how you feel. So it could be, they're saying things got mixed up where like, again, the two cavemen, they see each other. Maybe one of them inside felt threatened, felt a fear inside, a threatening. They're saying you can be, like you can feel like an inner, not from feature characteristics. You can feel an inner fear of an individual, and it's just that individual. But your eyes take a picture of that individual and think anyone who looks like this is bad for you, and then goes and tells everybody. So there's that part of it too. We kind of like capture and take in the moment. And it's like, and then we associate that feeling with the other one and then generalize for like safety. So what's the most important message we need to know about xenophobia? It's more inside than outside. Like your discernment with like your important, like your fear instincts are important. Like they tell you when something's dangerous or not, right? But it requires a lot of like time and space and discernment and knowledge and experience to determine if something is truly a danger and a threat to your life versus just something that's different, something that's new, something that's other. And so they're saying, like, you have to cultivate such a strong sense of, they're saying, like, your internal guidance and like self-awareness, not your reactivity. You have to learn how to manage, like, human beings have been around enough where they should be able to have self-management and self-control around, you know, especially like they're saying the fear-based emotions. The animal instinct is very strong. It's the initial response. It's protection mode. It's your safety protection mode kicks in. It's very important. They're saying, but then you have to go and take space and you have to manage that and decide, is it true? Is this true, or is this based on something that's not relevant to what's in front of you? So that's the whole thing, is like, take your time, like take your space. Like if there's something new, like do your research, like get to know the person. And they're saying, or not, like maybe it's just the one person, but it doesn't mean that it's everyone that looks like that person, right? They're saying it's obvious, right? Like it's obvious to say that. But they're saying, like, it's ignorant to categorize an entire population based on the one. And we have to constantly remind ourselves that one bad experience can cause a really massive bad decision. One bad experience with one individual can really like mark a timeline in history that has a greater effect on an entire population, where we think, like they're saying, no existence of this person in the world, like this entire population, like we can't have it exist because of an individual or a small group of people. And they keep saying, obviously, like it's obvious. But when we're in that fear mode, it's very hard to like grasp that concept, because we're like, dangerous, alarms going off in your head and your body and stuff and etc. But it could just be the one individual and not the whole. They're saying it's like the hardest part. It's the hardest part to remove, to separate one, they're saying, bad seed or a couple bad seeds from the whole of an entire population of what we call races. And they're saying, if you can start, if you need to, if your brain, because our brains are like hardwired to categorize, they're saying start categorizing in these two groups: warm, heart-centered human beings, merging, evolving, growing and learning, curious, creative problem solvers, working with the ecosystem of the planet. That's one race. The other race, they're saying they're sharp, metal, cold, fear-based, hard, tense, closed off, tight metal wire, electricity. Like there's a lot of like mental anxiety, like mind. It's almost like really, really tight in the mind. The others they're more balanced in the mind body, or they're very like in the body. There's openness in their system energetically. They're like, because our brains are so hardwired to categorize, start categorizing like that. If you want to look at race, start looking at race like that. And like gauge those moments where you have those feelings, because it could be extremely important and valid to have that fear instincts upon engaging with an individual. And that's that individual. And it's like, before you go back and tell everybody to kind of attack this person or whatever, they're saying, like, check in on yourself and like gather your nervous system and kind of decide what's appropriate. before you kind of create this belief system around an entire population. And they're saying something like, you know, speaking to the choir. Like a lot of times this is speaking to the choir. Certainly anyone like attracted to be interested in this type of topic would be speaking to the choir. And so that's why they're saying like, they're kind of like speaking the messages of it. Like you can just like warm, heart-centered race. That's it. Fear-based, tight, metal race. And keep it simplified like that, oversimplified. Okay. Anything else? What's the most important message? Do not stop thinking of better ways to be better human beings. Do not stop creating ways to be better human beings. They're just saying, do not stop evolving to be better. They're like, don't ever stop. They're saying tradition is great. Tradition is cool. Our roots are important. It's beautiful to know where we have been and where we've come from. But do not stop growing and learning and changing and melting and mending and evolving. They're just saying this is like moving forward. Human beings, like the human being is evolution, and like you're a part of it. So they're saying be a part of it. Are you evolving or are you blocked? Right? And this is the beginning, like blocked foundation. Are you evolving with the times? Are you evolving with the changes on the planet? Are you evolving, or are you just holding things in place? Are you scared to move? Are you scared to let go? Are you scared to release the past? They're like of lineages, of traditions, old values, old core values, old belief systems, religion. They're like politics, like whatever it is, the culture. They're like more evolving. There needs to be more evolving and being open to what that feels like. They're like, let the floodgates in, like let them in. And they're like, you're gonna love it. Like you'll love it. You'll love it. How much more exciting is it to see us evolve and grow and change and create these new ways of thinking and these new ways of being and these new ideas? Like it's fascinating. Like what's gonna come through you? What are you gonna create from that warm, heart-centered place? They're like, your human beings are part of the ecosystem. So be a part of the ecosystem with all of your intelligence, with all of your creative intelligence. Use it, your wisdom, your knowledge, use it, use it. Okay. So that was the Akashic Records on xenophobia. Very important topic. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.